Hi, in this short video we're going to talk about Clause 5, Leadership, from the ISO standards.
So as you're probably aware, leadership was not a clause in the previous versions of the standards. So in terms of top management, they're expected to be able to demonstrate that they're taking accountability for the effectiveness of the system. And they want to try and drive objectives, so establishing them and communicating them. Often these might be organisational KPIs, for example, but it's important to recognise that high-level organisational KPIs should, where possible, be cascaded down to departmental, project level, and even down to individual level objectives, KPIs, goals. It's also important to recognise that when these objectives are set, ideally they're looking at focusing on genuine measurable objectives and not we are going to cure world hunger type things or we are going to double our production. It's not that you can't say you're going to double your production, but you have to put it into context. So you have to say how you're going to achieve it and what methods you're going to use to get that and how you're going to do it. And the measurement you're going to use across that. Another key thing here is about promoting. So it's really important that leadership across a business is promoted. Remember when we talk about leadership as well, it's not just the MD, it's not just the board of directors, it's leadership throughout the business and what they are adding and what they're bringing to the table. So we want to ensure that these leaders are making people aware of the activities and the requirements of the management system and what it is that they're trying to achieve. What's the intended results of it? It's not just about certification. What is it about? Just because you've got a certificate in the wall doesn't mean that you're not going to harm someone, doesn't mean that you're not going to have errors in your production line. So what is it actually ultimately we want to achieve as our end goal? So yes, we want to retain certification or achieve it if you're early on, but ultimately what we want to do is we want to use the system to drive improvement. What types of improvement do we expect to see? Well, ultimately we should be looking at what our performance was before. So I'm not a great lover of zero harm, and we will not hurt anyone, because ultimately shouldn't really see it as an objective. It's almost like a legal requirement. It's more about focusing on, well, what happened last year or the year before and how can we try and drive that forward and improve on it. The other key thing about leadership team is being able to demonstrate that they have a customer focus. Okay, so what is it that they're trying to achieve in terms of customer requirements and what are the risks associated to achieving those requirements and what focus is put on this in terms of the method and how it's delivered, the method and how it's checked, and the method and how it's communicated to the customers. Likewise, there's also a requirement from a top-down policy. And policies, really not so much, I would say, an internal auditable activity. What I would say about the policies from an internal audit point of view, are they setting the scene? Are they demonstrable that they are implemented across the business? People are aware of what they are and people know why they're there. What's the purpose of them? And as I said before, the policies should be much more about what it is your organisation wants to try and do, what sort of scene they want to set so that others can follow. The other thing within leadership is that ultimately they have to commit to the resources and the roles, responsibilities and authorities. So yes, they have to take some ultimate responsibility, but actually how do they cascade that down through the business so that the management system can work? So for example, a leader who sets a very challengeable objective that then doesn't commit to implementing the resources and assigning the roles, responsibilities and authorities to achieve it is not really setting their company up, not setting things up very well for success. So you've got to think about when you set objectives, when your organisation sets objectives, you can look at an auditing point of view. Well, this is the objective that we have set, what it is we're trying to achieve, how are we going to achieve it, and what resources and commitments have we put in place as an organisation to demonstrate how we're going to do it, and then importantly, how well are we doing? So good examples of strong leadership is going out and asking, is the system working for them? Are the processes, procedures and activities that they're involved in, is it working for them? And the jobs that they've been asked to do, or the tasks that they've been asked to achieve, or the objectives at that level. Is the system working for them? Is there things that we could do as a business? Is there things that a leader can do to help make that happen better? What about attending workforce engagement meetings? So if there's a quality meeting or a health and safety meeting, and whatever that may be, even if it's a small toolbox talk, for example, or a chat about an increase in quality issues, or a chat about improvement in quality, good practice is really for leaders to be able to demonstrate that they're not attending all of these things, but their presence is seen. That they are there engaging with the workforce, possibly introducing the meeting, or maybe coming in at the end, or maybe just being there to observe and being open to receive any questions. When it comes to improvement areas, often the people that are doing the work are the ones that are exposed to the issues and recognise the issues and maybe hear the flack of the problems that occur. So involving them, not necessarily them coming up with what needs to be done, but that can be the case. But often it's a case of, well, actually, if you're coming up with new ways of working, new things that you're going to do that involves change or improvement, involve them in what you're proposing. Involve them and get feedback on what the impact might be to them and what they think. Involvement of the workforce in assessing hazards and risks. I don't know, many times I've been to a business and I've seen the health and safety manager has completed all of the risk assessments. He has, when he's inducted everyone, he's let them read the risk assessment when they've been inducted into the site. But at no time has the person that's really doing the job been involved in assessing the hazards and risks. I think it's important a good leader demonstrates that, they're there to provide guidance and support and a bit of education where required, but ultimately the people that are doing the job, the workforce that are involved in those areas where the hazards are, these are the guys that have to be doing the assessment. They need to recognise what the hazard is and be able to see the reason that the control measures are in place. In particular, if things change. If things change and those hazards change slightly or additional hazards come in, you want them to have the knowledge to be able to see that and adjust things or stop the job to communicate. Lots of poor examples. Certainly I've experienced them over my years of auditing, expecting others to follow the system but ignoring it themselves. I don't care what the risk assessment says, just get on with the job and get it done. Not following the rules. We've put in place a health and safety guide to try and drive improvement, change behaviours, but one of the leaders is counteracting that by not following anything that's set out within the business associated to PPE, and really creating a very, very difficult job for the health and safety advisor. Not engaging with the workforce, not getting feedback. Good leaders is about communication. It's about getting down there and working with them, not involving the workforce in significant changes. Great areas where you can audit against, where there's been changes that have occurred, improvements, whatever those changes have been, involving others to look and see how those changes have gone about, how effective they've been, where others have not been involved, where the actual workforce that's affected by the change are not involved, what impact has that had? And ignoring legal requirements, possibly placing others at risk at the same time.
You may want to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on LinkedIn. And please remember, the next video may be of interest to you, where we talk about Clause 6, planning.